Let's call the meeting to order, please. Start by the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Julie, if you would do roll call, please.
For the board, we have President Carl Gilmore, Vice President Crystal Ando, our Treasurer Dr. Patricia Miller, our Secretary Vicki Knight, Trustees Lisa Schmidt and Jason Petz. Trustee Sharon Kinley is out of town and unable to be with us today. On the staff side, myself, Julie Millibeck. We also have Debbie Maxwell and Lisa Pappas, and a very shaky table. Stop doing that, it looks like it's going to fall over. Anyway, so tonight, since we have so many in the crowd, I think we're going to ask everybody to introduce themselves. We have a number of staff, a couple members of the press, and various others.
We'll start back here, please.
Anita Quinlan with the library.
I'm Scott B. with Patch.
Thank you.
Bill Wilson, I'm with Century 21.
Vicki Polito.
I'm Bob Ocon with the Herald News.
Great, thank you.
Don McKay from Nagel Hartree Architecture.
Eric Penny from Nagel Hartree Architecture.
Graham Harwood from CCS.
John Kreska with the Library.
Mindy Jackson here with the Plainfield Public Library.
Ron Davazio here with the library.
Brian Murphy, just a kid from Detroit.
Wonderful, well, welcome. Thank you all for coming. I do want to welcome you all here to the March board meeting. Very gratifying to see everyone in attendance after what has been a very busy period of activity over the past couple of months. And so I'd like to just acknowledge the 800-pound gorilla in the room, which is the fact that we had 2 referenda on the ballot in yesterday's primary election, and neither one passed. I have specifically avoided the use of the word lost here because there was no candidate on the ballot to lose. Only a permission sought and denied to expend funds on behalf of the members of this district. If anything was lost, it was just this opportunity at this time. The board you have elected and the staff that is throughout this building on a daily basis will continue to work tirelessly to make sure that this is the best library district it can possibly be to serve our constituents. Those who sit here before you will be reviewing the election results, and we will react accordingly, as our positions as representatives of the members of this district require. Part of that process will be drawing inferences from voting patterns and other feedback we received throughout the informational campaign. And based on that information, and through our conversation as board members and with the library staff, and potentially in consultation with our partners who have seen us this far, we will decide our next steps. Because another major component of our responsibility as library trustees is to ensure that the library is meeting its obligations as a resource to the district and the wider community it is a part of. We are entrusted not with a building to manage, but with a district, a concept of providing materials and services for the education and entertainment of our patrons. Throughout those next steps, we will continue to encourage and solicit taxpayer participation. Formal meeting attendance, correspondence, and casual conversation among stakeholders must be a part of this process in order for it to succeed. Outside agitation and anonymous complaints cannot be addressed. We must all work together to make certain that our library is what we want it to be, an asset to our community today and for years to come. And so I hope that you will join us in that desire and will partner with us to make it true. Thank you and welcome. I now invite any public comment that we might have tonight. Yes,
Hi.
please. John.
This is John Kreska. I'm Executive Director for Every Library. My first meeting with the board was back in November of 2014 to help you guys with that assessment process. The pro bono support that we provided to both the messaging as well as the outreach plan for the board was, I think, very solid. And the headwind that you guys ran into is something that we were very disappointed about. I think, Carl, to your remarks about anonymous as being out of bounds, I tend to agree with you, and especially the idea that there's been an ideologically driven concerned about that. We also want to, I also want to come out, I came out tonight to make sure that you guys hear that we're standing with you if that's a desirable thing in terms of the assessment moving forward. There is a plan for this community. Your plan A was really solid. I'd love to see some version of it happen again. Your plan B, I'm sympathetic for having to put that into effect in the meantime. So we're ready to help as you guys need it. And again, it's that pro bono service that we're set up to do for you. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Vicki Polito. You can't see me because I'm behind the camera. I just want to say thank you to the board and to the staff. I think the work that you guys put together to try and get this initiative moved forward was admirable, and I respected it a lot. I followed it for a very long time, and I appreciate everyone's work, and I appreciate a lot of the good citizens who did come out. I appreciate everybody coming out to vote no matter what. But I also want to say that I think from my perspective, from people I talk with around in the community, I think that you can, as well as counting on people like every library, other people in the room, I think you can count on still a lot of the citizens to be behind improving our library. And I'm sure, loss, is loss, whether we use the word or not. Loss is a loss, but, they say it's in how you sort of get up and dust yourself off and just keep moving forward. And that's what we'll do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else at the table want to say anything before we move on to activities that we might be participating in throughout the community? Okay.
I guess want to say that I have been writing notes to myself all day long in terms of all these thoughts that come into my head as a way in which maybe then I'm not just going to spout them off somewhere. But I think one of the things that has always attracted people to this library is that it is warm, it is pleasant, it is welcoming. We try to serve anyone and everyone, no matter what. I think that was the tone with which we went through and all the options that we visited in terms of how to get a measurable plan that we thought would serve the community, not something that was outlandish or fancy, but something that would serve. But our message was one, again, that was warm. We talked about expansion. We tried to get everyone's comments, etc. So I feel that we did do the job that we set out to do, but perhaps also I went back to a statistics class that I first took in the university, and it said there are lies, big fat lies, and statistics. And when people remember statistics, that we have to be very, very cautious how we provide them. And sometimes I think that what we presented as such could also be maybe misinterpreted from what we originally intended. So maybe we have to look from the other side of the people who said, no more taxes. I understand that, certainly. But I think we maybe have to put ourselves in their shoes as we try to look at how we proceed from here.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to take a look at for sure that has come out of this. Anybody else? All right, attendance at community events then. Anything since our last meeting in February that anybody was able to attend?
I was obviously at the Village Planning Commission.
Great.
I don't know if they had one yesterday. I was busy with other things, but I did attend the one the 1st of March. They discussed the special economics job thing that they approved at the board meeting that they were working on. They discussed the target outlots and expansion of some of the buildings there. There was a short discussion of the boulevard, which is potentially where the Costco may go out on 30 with the shared Joliet-Plainfield taxation zone. And that was pretty much about it. It was the fastest one that I ever attended. Trustee Lamb, who's been attending it for years, said that was the first time he's ever been finished in less than an hour.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And also Vikas, that was his last one. That's when I found out that was Vikas's last time. And he is now in California.
Yes, not yet.
Driving to California as we speak. Sorry, not there quite yet.
Right.
And the parade, obviously.
Well, yes, parade.
And
there
so
were
through.
several of us who swam through that, I mean, rode through that, right? It was awesome. Yes. Did you say awesome or awful? Awesome. It was awesome.
It was wet.
It was awesome. The reception all along the route was still good. But they call it Irishness. Isn't that what it's called?
Hey, yes.
Several of us attended candidates night.
Right,
And,
Monday the
we were
28th.
there if nothing else to support Julie, who was kind of the MC of the evening.
Yes.
I guess I was hoping that there would be more people in attendance.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just the fact that we were very busy at this time of the year, but I was very pleased that at least we got to hear some of the candidates that were there.
Yes.
Our condolences also to Ms. Lauderman.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I think several of us went to the lake,
Mhm.
and I know that was such a shock. And so for all of us, I think it says that we need to be there to help to
Yes.
provide that support.
We are part of this community.
Exactly.
The other activity that I would add that I was at was the Star Wars Day, which also coincided with the final informational session that Julie led downstairs. Over 1,000 people. I don't know if we ever got an account beyond that. I think once you get into four figures, that's sufficient to say, yeah, lots and lots. But it's well attended. Questions were asked and answered. And I think it was once again an example of how this building can be used despite its amenities. And I'll leave it at that. All right. Yes, we do have a couple of people who have arrived since we started. If you could just introduce yourselves.
I guess that's me.
Well, you're one, yes.
Behind-
And then there's one behind
behind
you,
you.
so I had to look through you in order to get to
There are
the.
three of you in a row, actually.
My name's Judy Faber Bigsby, and I'm here to find out how we're going to go forward from now.
Wonderful, thank you for coming, Judy.
My name's Kathleen Skinner, and I'm here because I helped work on the campaign, and I just want to be able to do whatever I can in the future to help as well.
Great, thank you.
John Piemonte with Robert W. Baird Public Finance. I'm here also to help in any way and see how we move forward.
Great, thank you. Thank you for coming as well. All right, then we move on to item 3, which is our consent agenda. We have just one set of minutes from February 17th, our last regular board meeting. Were there any substantial changes or questions about the contents of those minutes? All right, hearing none, then I will accept those by acclamation. Item 4, the approval of bills paid and bills payables listed there, almost on the screen. Judy, you're in charge of the computer now.
You want me to roll it up?
Yes, please.
There we go.
I offered to sit on the floor.
There we go.
And it would feel like a children's.
Thank you.
Now we should be good for a while.
All right, so the figures are before us. Are there any questions about the bills paid and payables? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept those as presented.
I move that we accept the bills payable and paid in the total amount of $294,744.85.
Second.
Seconded by Crystal. Thank you. Julie, roll call vote.
Crystal?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. We move on to item 5, committee reports. Dr. Miller, the Finance Committee.
Yes, I believe in the packet, everyone has a copy of the Finance Committee report and the manner in which we dealt with the working budget, with whatever revisions then had to be addressed, particularly upon request of one of our staff who said that it would more logically have expenditures in another area, so there were trade-offs, but there was not a change in the amount of money allocated for that particular department.
Yes, and those were changes among material lines, just from one type of material to another. The committee did come out with a recommendation for an update to the mid-year, to the working budget for the mid-year. The changes are generally very small. So those are our new business number 1.
Right.
Oh, yes. Yeah, partly also at the previous time that we had had very short notice about our depositing the funds that come from taxes, that the Illinois funds would no longer be doing that. We had instructed Julie to contact 4 different community organizations, banks, and find out what they would provide. They came, presented at our meeting, our last meeting, and then we discussed what they had provided, and we gave Julie then the go-ahead to contract for the new.
So our tax escrow account had been in the Illinois funds. They will no longer, as of the end of February, be accepting deposits from the county treasurers of tax monies, which makes them awfully inconvenient as a tax escrow account. So we had to scramble. It was not until after the 1st of February that Illinois funds decided to tell us that as of the end of the month, we would no longer be able to use them for this purpose. So there was a bit of a scramble, and those of you who were at the last meeting know that we trotted out 4 of our local banks to see what they could do for us as far as tax escrow accounts. We did wind up going with First Community Bank. That account is now open, and we have gotten all of our paperwork out to our 2 county treasurers' offices so that the deposits can begin to flow into the new tax escrow account, and we will be closing the former tax escrow account with the Illinois funds.
All right. Anything else coming out of the committee meeting?
No, I think at this point we will just
Okay.
continue to.
Great. Any questions about the report for those who were not there? All right, then as this is unaudited, we will simply accept the report as presented and then go through final approval once we have auditing at the end of the fiscal year. So, library director's report.
Yeah.
Anything you would like to talk about?
It will at least be good to get back to the actual business of running the library, which has not been so much my job the last couple of months. We have a couple of things that we do need to address within the next month primarily. We will begin the new budgeting cycle for the fiscal year that starts July 1. That generally starts end of March, beginning of April, as the new tax information is coming from the counties. We also have a major staffing happening. Anita Quinlan, our community relations coordinator, retires at the end of this month, and we have big decisions to make regarding that position and other positions at this time. So it will be my job to jump right in there with the budget and figure out how we're going to make it through FY17, especially without Anita's helping hand out there in the community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You will be missed.
Thank you.
It's always been interesting when I've gone anywhere in the community, including out at the Plainfield Fest and the booth. Everyone knows Anita. So we're going to have to find a way to supply some big name tag or whatever. Never replace her, because you're really almost irreplaceable.
For those of you who are going to the Business Expo that's on Saturday, Anita will be there. That is 9 to 2 at the Field House at Plainfield High School Central Campus. Other than that, I think everything's on the agenda further down.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you, Dan. All right, then we move to item 7, action items, and we have unfinished business related to building and expansion planning and next steps. Obviously flowing out of last night's decision. So we have a series of questions that we need to ask ourselves, even as we are continuing to gather input and information, because depending on the answers to some of these questions, we may have more priority and haste about those answers as we arrive at those. So, question 1 that we need to talk about as a board is, are we continuing to move forward with another referendum and plan for expansion of this facility, or do we need to start working on the details of the Plan B that we discussed for staying within this facility and working with things that need to be changed in order to bring it up to code, in order to make sure that it is accessible and that we are still able to serve all of our patrons? So I need some input from all of you on how you feel about that first decision. Are we going to try and rework something, or are we going to try and fix what's here?
I'm kind of mixed
Okay.
in my kind of thoughts right now. It's so soon after the vote. I've been trying to get as much information as possible, asking people in the community, especially those that have been a little bit more vocal than others. Looking at the percentages, I like to say it's just easier to say 40-60. To me, it feels like the community is concerned about really the tax increase. I think that there may be not enough information and understanding of what construction costs are nowadays for a building.
Sure.
And that $39 million is not really the size of the building that we're looking at, unreasonable at all. So part of me feels like there's been, the community says, maybe the amount of taxes we're asking for as an increase might be a little bit too much.
Sure.
I've heard things like the size of the building. Do we need this much? And I think as a board, we've really went through that, studied it, and talked to the community, invited the community to come out and give input. I think the main issue is that we're not getting enough input from the community, especially the people in the community that seem to not agree with the steps that we're taking. We can only go with the information that we're given. When we have positive feedback from the community, we go with that, and that's what we were given. Positive feedback, excitement about this. 40% of the community wants a new building. So I don't think that we took any missteps in that regard. I think that it's just trying to get the people in the community that have issues with the steps that we have been taking to come forward and meet with us, talk with us, and not sit anonymously in a corner talking amongst themselves. I really feel that we need that information. That's the only way we can serve the community properly. And moving forward, that's why I say I have such mixed feelings.
Sure.
Because I really feel like we put an effort forward and we were listening to our community, and we just need more input.
Okay.
I think it would be pointless not to try it again at least one more time. We have the properties that we need to purchase to do the expansion on contract until the end of this year.
Correct.
So the work that we put into that is lost entirely. But I do think that it would probably behoove us to start seriously looking into Plan B and perhaps even implementing the beginning steps of that. I mean, I think we've really hit that point where we need to start making these changes that are going to be unpopular and that we don't want to do, but
That allow us to fix the things that we need to fix.
that need to be done.
Sure.
The elevator's not gonna last forever, the boiler's not gonna last forever, the HVAC is not gonna last forever, these things aren't gonna last forever, and we need to start building up our reserve now. I don't want to do Plan B, I didn't wanna do Plan B initially, but it's probably time to start.
Well, and you mentioned that we have the rights on some of the properties that we had looked at through December, which means that we do have the option, and the reason that I mentioned the timeliness of this is that if we were to really push, there is another ballot that will be coming up between now and December, that we would not lose all of that work, at least. But it does really force our hand in terms of what is possible for gathering information, responding to that information, and then building a plan based on it. So it would have to be a very concerted effort. So, to
Just
that point.
a point of information, the date by which the board would have to act to pass an ordinance to place something on the ballot would be August 22nd for the November ballot.
So following our August meeting, which means
Yes.
we would have up through that,
Yes.
but not much after.
We put so much time and work into it, gotten the contract set up, we have people that are working with us until the end of this year. They accuse us of being wasteful already, that would be truly wasteful of the money that has been invested in this already. But I also do think that it's time to look at Plan B as something that is active steps, not just something that we've discussed and rehearsed.
Vicki, any thoughts? Nothing to add?
I agree with what Lisa said about the anonymous people need to come forward and sit down and talk with us about what they perceive what we need to be doing.
We did the surveys.
The phone surveys.
And the number one, the major thing, about the only thing that we could count as what people were upset about was increased taxes. There was next to nothing else they objected to.
Yeah, it was like 85% or something.
So it's the manner in which we look at that, and as I said, I think sometimes they are making assumptions based on what they've heard us say, because we have been so comprehensive in what information we wanted to provide, that I think sometimes when you have too much, people don't get the message clearly. I know I find that true if it's with another organization that I'm not constantly involved with, and I hear pieces of information, and then that gets repeated maybe from someone else. So I think we have to look at this tax issue very, very carefully. And I hope people would come forward, but I don't know that they have any more specifics than that.
It may be as simple as, I
Maybe.
don't want to increase my taxes.
Exactly.
Or
One
maybe the
comment was,
percentage that it's
when if you can cut
increasing.
taxes somewhere else, then I won't have to pay anymore. That was one comment that I read.
It was in the paper.
And I thought, well,
yesterday.
that's interesting. Now, I don't know who's cutting taxes. I haven't seen that occurring.
And we don't have any control over that.
No,
So, I mean, that's.
exactly. And Governor Rauner, of course, he has proposed putting a freeze on all real estate taxes.
Right.
But I look at that point and say, partly, it also helps you to see that that money remains in the communities. The state income tax, of course, is something which then goes to the state and they redistribute there. But we have to look at what does it provide then for our community, and maybe put it on that kind of a basis. There certainly are things I'm sure that we can take a look at what we're doing and approach it somewhat differently. I mean, one of the comments, I think Julie, you and I were together when we heard more than once, what is this staff shower room for? I mean, and it is based on that then someone assumes that we have a lot of extra things in that building that otherwise would not be necessary. So I think that we haven't looked at it from that direction. But I think that we have to find, as I said, put